Hello, my dear friends. A very warm welcome to Newspaper Analysis Townhall. Today is 23rd of July. Yesterday, due to some unforeseen circumstances, we could not release the newspaper. Today, we are going to cover the news of 22nd and 23rd July. So, the issues which we are going to cover today are: first one, we all are aware of the resignation of Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar. We will see what are the various provisions related to the post of Vice President, election and removal of the vice president. Second, as we all know, when the elections come in any state or the center, the freebies starts. So various freebies in Bihar raises concern regarding the fiscal expenditure. So we will see what are the various issues regarding freebies. Third, status of right to vote. Here we will analyze various rights. What are the various types of right? And also what is the status of right to vote, various constitutional and Supreme Court judgments. Fourth one, this article is very important. It will cover everything related to India's nuclear power. What is the status of nuclear power in India? What are the issues? Why we should move with rapid energy towards deployment of nuclear energy, and also what steps India should take. We will cover everything under this. Fifth one, again the issue of manual scavenging, where a study has found lack of various safety equipments with manual scavengers. Sixth, we will see some defense updates. Okay, so the first issue is resignation of the vice president. Jagdeep Dhankhar was the 14th vice president of India. He resigned by writing his resignation letter to the President Draupadi Murmu under Article 67A of the Constitution. Now, the poll panel, that is the Election Commission of India. Yes, Election Commission conducts election for President, Vice President, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and State Assemblies. Now, election to the Vice President will have to be held immediately. So, here we will have a look at various constitutional provisions. First one, the office of Vice President is under Article 63. What Article 63 says? It simply says there shall be a Vice President of India. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Under 67 article of the Constitution, various things like term of office of the Vice President is given. It should be 5 years. When election happens, the term of office after that will be 5 years for the Vice President. 2 years were left in the term of Jagdeep Dhankhar. Then the resignation to the President, and it becomes effective immediately. It does not wait for any approval or acceptance by the President. Third, removal. For example, if Vice President does not resign and the House, that is the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, wants to remove the Vice President, how they can do it? The removal of Vice President can happen by a resolution of Rajya Sabha, which is passed by majority of all the then members of the House. What is the meaning of this then members of the House? Basically, if there are, say for example, 245 members in Rajya Sabha, out of those, today 200 are present in the House. So what a simple majority does, that is more than 50% of 200, that is 101. But all the then members of the House, that is the strength of 245, majority of 245 should be there, that is 223. This is also called as absolute majority. You must have read about various kinds of majority: simple majority, absolute majority. Then there comes a special majority, which will be required for the impeachment of the High Court Judge, Justice Yashwant Verma, which is supposed to happen in this session of the Parliament only. Okay. So this is how the Vice President is removed. Then it has to be agreed by the Lok Sabha also. A 14 days notice must be given for such a resolution. Before any resolution for removal is introduced in the House, 14 days notice should be given to the Vice President. How the election of the Vice President is done. This has been discussed in today's article only. For the election of Vice President, first of all, a nomination paper has to be filed, which has to be subscribed by at least 20 electors and 20 seconders. Electors, for the election of Vice President, there is an electoral college. of that electoral college, at least 20 members should subscribe it as electors and 20 as seconders. A deposit fee of 15,000 rupees has to be submitted. Okay. After that, election starts. Who participates in the election, which is called as electoral college? It involves members of both the houses of parliament, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. There is one difference between the election of president and vice president. See, for president, we know the MLAs from the state assemblies also participate, but for vice president, they do not participate. And second one, in president's election, nominated members do not participate, but for vice president, nominated members of Rajya Sabha participate. It is done by a system of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote, done by secret ballot. Yes, the order of whip they do not follow for the vice president's election. Yes, no need to follow the party whip. This is the difference between a normal resolution or normal passing and also the election of vice president. What is the meaning of single transferable vote and proportional representation? Basically, every elector, for example, voter, MP, he has how many choices? He will have as many choices as there are number of candidates. For example, two candidates are there. One is say A and second is B. So an MP will give the preference. First preference would be A, second would be B. According to that preferences, election will happen. And also, the winning candidate has to secure required quota of votes, at least 50% of the valid votes plus one. For example, if there are three candidates, one get, let us understand it here. There are three candidates, A, B, C. One gets 50 votes, one gets 45 votes, second gets 40, third gets 15. This is 100. In normal ways for MP and MLA, A will be declared as winner, but for vice president, he will not be declared as winner because he should get at least 50 plus 1%. So this will be eliminated and these votes will be transferred to A or B depending on the preference given. For example, an elector has given preference of C, then A, then B. All the 15 has done this. Then these 15 votes will be transferred to the next preference, that is A. So it will become 60 and will be declared as the winner. Okay, these are some facts, constitutional provisions regarding the appointment and removal of the vice president. One thing we can have a look at the returning officer's role. Who is the returning officer? Basically, who conducts the election, who looks after the operational aspects of the election. By convention, no provisions are there in constitution or law. By convention, the Secretary General of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha is appointed as returning officer by rotation. That is one time of Lok Sabha, second time of Rajya Sabha. Some interesting facts related to office of vice president. Vice president is ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha. We all know, but he is not considered as a member of parliament, neither house of the parliament. He is not a member of Rajya Sabha. Keep this thing in mind. This can come as a statement in question that vice president is the member of Rajya Sabha. No, he is not the member of Rajya Sabha. Then there was one vice president, Muhammad Hidayatullah in 1979, who was elected unopposed. That is one one candidate only. Then Hamid Ansari, the vice president, has been the longest serving vice president. He completed his 2 terms. So this is all about vice president. Next one is the cost of promises. Promises which are done during the elections. What is the cost of those promises? Cost on economy, on free and fair elections, cost on individuals. So it is raining welfare in Bihar. Welfare is everywhere in Bihar. We know the economic status of Bihar, per capita income of Bihar, but right now welfare is everywhere in Bihar. How? There has been so many promises during the election campaigning, which is going on. One such promise is household consumption of 125 unit of electricity per month will be free. Then 1.67 crore households will be covered under 𝐼𝐸𝐻𝐿 Yojana. Then 58 lakh below poverty line families will have rooftop solar installation by the government. Again 35% job reservation for women. Again social security pension increase. So welfare is everywhere in Bihar, but only before the election. After election, we all are aware what happens. So the issue which we are going to see is not what is happening in Bihar or what party is doing what. Our issue is broad. What are freebies? Why freebies are given? Are they inherently negative in nature, or there are some positive aspects of the freebies? Then what are the issues with the freebies and what should be done? Freebies, RBI defines it. There's no other definition. There's no any agreement over its definition. RBI defines it as a public welfare measure. It's a welfare measure. All these are welfare measures that is provided free of charge, free of cost. Free of cost, all this will be provided. In the past, we all know Prime Minister has called it 𝐼𝐸𝐝 culture, which are distributed for free. Okay, so why freebies are being given? What are the various positive sides of the freebies? See, freebies are basically the government schemes or the welfare schemes which a party claims that they will enact these schemes when they come into power. So these can be used as fulfillment of basic needs like food and nutrition, National Food Security Act, housing. Similarly, we saw here 𝐻𝐞𝐬𝐝 Yojana and also 1.67 crore households. So housing, education. Again, it addresses social and gender disparities. How? We all know the backward section of the society, generally SCs and STs, they are at the lower strata of economic development. So various schemes which are announced by the government, it benefits the lower strata of the population. Also gender disparities, for example, free bicycle or say laptop for the girl students. So if a school is 3 kilometers away, giving a free bicycle to such female students, it will increase the enrollment of girl students in schools. This is a good thing. So it helps in reducing the gender and social disparities. Midday meal scheme, laptop for girl students. Again, it is the constitutional obligation of the state, of the government, to promote welfareism under directive principles of state policies. So these are the positive sides of freebies. There have been various case studies also, which were earlier announced as freebies, but they become very successful. Midday meal scheme of Tamil Nadu. This is followed entire country now because students are promoted to attend schools. This is the benefit of this. They come to school for food. Second, they get nutritious food. So two things in one way, education and health, both in one, midday meal. Second, Telangana's Ritu Bandhu scheme, Odisha's Kalia scheme. Again, based on the motivation from these schemes only, we have PM Kisan at the center, where the money is being transferred to the accounts of the farmers. So if there are so many positive things about the freebies, why it is called as freebies and why it is being debated so much? What are the various issues with the freebies? First of all is the fiscal burden. I will spend this much, I will spend this much. Where will you get the money? RBI report on state finances, it raised concern regarding the expenditure by the states and that too on subsidies. If you are spending more and more on subsidies, where will you get the money? This money is taxpayers' money. And if you spend it on freebies, then you have to borrow the money to spend on other infrastructure projects. The estimated cost of freebies, it ranged from 1 to 2.7% of GDP. Even some states like Andhra Pradesh, the expenditure on GDP is up on freebies or say subsidies is up to 10% of the total expenditure, which is too much. Again, Supreme Court in 2022, when a petition challenged the constitutional validity of freebies, as they may dispute free and fair election, Supreme Court accepted the petition. So it is said that they impact free and fair election, which is the basic structure of the constitution. Article 324, 325, 326, free and fair elections. How they impact it? For example, if I am a party which is contesting the election and I announce freebies, say I will provide these schemes like free electricity, free water, then free transport, free solar installations, 5,000 monthly will be paid in the accounts of those who do not get any job. So these are basically the freebies which will impact the election. Why? Because the the people in the constituencies who are going to vote, they will be impacted. They will be likely to align their vote in favor of the one who is giving more freebies. Election Commission has also introduced a pro forma in 2022 asking political parties to explain and describe how the financial feasibility will be there regarding the promises they are making during the elections. You are making the promises. Now write down how all these are going to be fulfilled. Capacity of state. How much is the capacity of the state? Again, distortion in budget allocation. This is very important. For example, if I have 100 rupees, I'm going to spend say 40 on freebies. I'm left with only 60 to spend on the productive sectors, infrastructure, agriculture, research, development, education, health. So it is likely to shift, divert fund from the productive sectors, which will hurt the economy in the long run. The next is moral corruption. Moral corruption of individuals who vote by looking at the freebies. It is likely to increase the dependency of individuals on the state for food, for water, for electricity, for employment, for social security, for solar installation. Everything will be dependent on the state, which is likely to impact the caliber of the individual. Supreme Court asserted that this is a big statement. Use it directly in the exam. Freebies ease the poor into a parasitic life, which deprives them of any initiative to find work. If I'm getting everything at home by sitting in my room, I'm getting food, water, house, electricity, even 5,000 monthly, 10,000 monthly in my account. So why do I look for work? This is the ideal life, right? This is what everybody wants. Not everybody, but most of the people may not look for work and they do not join the mainstream, therefore not contributing to national development, poor into a parasitic life. So there should be some checks and balances. We cannot say that these are illegal. Even Supreme Court in the past did not term them constitutional, unconstitutional. No, but there should be some checks and balances. What should be done? There should be clear distinction on part of election commission, on part of political parties, and on part of the voter. That what is the essential welfare scheme and what is a non-merit freebies. For example, if I say I will give TV to all the person who votes for me, this is non-merit freebie. What a person who do not have a job, who do not have things to eat, not have a house to stay, what will he do with the TV? So there should be clear distinction between welfare schemes which are essential and freebies which are non-merit. Second, Supreme Court has also asserted this that election commission should be given the greater power in ensuring the transparency and also looking after the freebies which are announced by the political parties. There can be a check on like the freebies which are announced, how their implementation is going to be, whether a party implements or not. There should be a report card. There should be some accountability. Okay, you cannot just announce it and just run away. You get into the power, you forget. Again, we can use Amartya Sen's capability approach where everybody should be given as per one's capability. Okay, government must reprioritize. Prioritization should be there of long-term objectives and empowerment. Empowering the poor, empowering the women, empowering the lower section of the social strata is entirely different from giving them short-term freebies. Okay, so there should be reprioritization of these. N.K. Singh, who was the chairman of 15th Finance Commission, has also warned against this race to the bottom and asked to prevent the fiscal disaster because undue expenditure on freebies can be disastrous fiscally. So this was it for the freebies. Next article, yes, legal status of right to vote. In this article, we are going to see what are the various types of rights. Types of rights as in natural rights, fundamental rights, constitutional rights, statutory rights. Then we will have a look at the constitutional or legal status of right to vote, various Supreme Court judgments. What are the various rights? In the past, in 17th, 16th century, 18th century, natural rights emerged in West, in Europe. What were they? They were the rights which are being given to an individual by nature. Government has no role. It is given by the nature in like right to life and liberty. In West, right to property was also considered a natural right. Right to property. So these are the natural rights. State has not given them. So state cannot take them away. These are given by the nature. Right to life and liberty. Then fundamental rights come, which in our constitution are guaranteed under part 3 of the constitution. The state cannot make a law which violates the fundamental right or say basic structure of the constitution. These are enforced under Article 32 by the Supreme Court only. Then constitutional rights. What is the difference between fundamental and constitutional rights? Both are mentioned in the constitution, but the rights which are mentioned in the part 3 are called as fundamental, and the rights which are mentioned outside part 3 are called as constitutional rights. Difference is, if fundamental right is violated, you can directly go to the Supreme Court under Article 32. But for constitutional right, you need not go to the directly to the Supreme Court. You follow legal procedure like right to property, free trade, no taxation without the authority of law. And these have been operationalized by various legislations. Next is statutory right or legal right. These are the rights which are given by the government or say parliament or state legislature. For example, Manrega Act is there, National Food Security Act is there, Forest Right Act is there. These are the various types of rights. Now, what the Constitution says about right to vote? Under Article 326, every citizen has the right to vote without any discrimination who is not less than 18 years of age. Earlier it was 21, which was reduced to 18 years. To operationalize this, two acts have been enacted. Representation of People Act 1950 and Representation of Peoples Act 1951. Under the Act of 1950, there are two sections, Section 16 and Section 19. Non-citizens are not eligible for voting rights at Section 16. Section 19, who is not 18 years of age, will not be eligible, and one should be ordinarily resident. This is 1950. Then 1951 comes. For a person to vote, his name must be there in the electoral roll, and also disqualification of those who are in prison. Yes, a person in prison cannot vote. This is a very interesting case. A person in prison can contest election. Yes, if he's not been convicted for more than 2 years, he can contest election. For example, if I go to prison today, jail में डाल दिया मुझे किसी reason से, I can contest election. Yes, if election is going to be there in Delhi, I can contest that election, but I cannot vote in the election. This is the contrast. जेल में जाने से इलेक्शन लड़ सकते हो बट वोट नहीं डाल सकते. This is the legal provision. This question also can come in prelims as a statement. What are the various rulings of the court regarding right to vote? Whether it is a constitutional right, is it a fundamental right, is it a statutory or legal right? In various Supreme Court judgment, the first one being N.P. Ponnuswamy in 1952, right to vote is a statutory right. This was again said in Jyoti Basu case of 1982. In PUCL case, it was said a constitutional right, but in Kuldeep Nair case, again, constitution bench of 5 judges, which overrides the PUCL. Again, it is a statutory right only. In Anup Baranwal case recently, 2023, the same was enforced. Kuldeep Nair case, that right to vote is a statutory right. There's a decent judgment of 𝐼𝐴 Rastogi, Justice 𝐼𝐴 Rastogi, who said right to vote is expression of choice. Yes, I have the choice to express my willingness to vote for a particular party, and which will come under Article 19(1)(a). Also, right to vote comes under free and fair election, which is a constitutional provision, which is a basic structure of the constitution. So it is a constitutional right, but it will not be valid as it only a decent voice. So status as of now is right to vote as statutory right or legal right, not constitutional right. Okay. Yes, this is a very important article. Redeeming India's nuclear power promise. What this article discusses about, let me briefly just tell you. First of all, India's target of nuclear power. What has been the historical background? How India developed its nuclear power from 1952, 2000, 2010, 20. What were the various issues in nuclear power generation? Why we should focus on nuclear power generation? What benefits it offers that we should focus on it? And what steps India should take? Okay, I've given very clear notes, brief notes for you, which summarizes the article and also some value additions. India's budget 2025-26 set an ambitious target of 100 gigawatt of nuclear power generating capacity by 2047. Current capacity is 8 gigawatt only. So from 8 to 100, long journey. 8 gigawatt, since independence, we are able to establish only 8 gigawatt. And now we are talking about 100 gigawatt. It will help in achieving the twin objectives of Viksit Bharat by 2047 and also net zero emission by 2070, which India promised at Glasgow Summit in 2021. So this is the target India has set. India's history regarding nuclear power generation. See, first nuclear research reactor of Asia. It was established in India only, Apsara, 1956. This was a research reactor. Then power reactor was also established in India only, Tarapur, 1963. Okay, these were established. Again, there is one scheme of the government, nuclear energy mission, with the outlay of 20,000 crore to develop at least 5 indigenously designed and operational small modular reactor by 2033. So India started good with Apsara, with Tarapur. Now India has a mission. India has targets. Okay, Dr. Homi J. Baba, who was the pioneer of nuclear energy in India, he envisioned 8 gigawatt of nuclear power by 1980. This was all going smooth. Then happened certain uncertainties, certain challenges. First one, 1962 China War. Then India stayed out of non-proliferation treaty. Then India, 1974 nuclear explosion. Yes, in the first experiment at Pokhran. So under these, sanctions were imposed. Cooperation was limited from the West. So the race was slowed down, and we ultimately increased our target 10 gigawatt to 2000 from 1980 to 2000, 20 years shift. Currently, also we have only 8 gigawatt by 2025. So the target which was supposed to be met in 1980, we are running in 2025, 45 years of gap. Okay. So why nuclear energy is important? What it offers? First one, India to become Viksit Bharat by 2047. So its GDP has to increase from 4 trillion to say 33 or 35 trillion dollar by 2047. Second, India's current energy generation capacity is 480 gigawatt. 4 trillion to 35 trillion, and also current is 480 gigawatt. By looking at the requirement which is going to be there in 2047, it needs to increase by 5-fold. So need to increase the power generation capacity. Our power generation is how much we utilize. Per capita electricity consumption in India is 1208 kilowatt hour. Keep this data. Okay, as compared to China 4600, US 12,500. So our consumption is very less. If we are going to become developed, it will increase. It will increase, therefore we will need 5 times more power. Nuclear energy can come handy in this. And renewable energy has very limitations. Wind energy, solar energy, because they are intermittent power. Intermittent power meaning they cannot be used 24 hours. You know the present status? Presently, out of 480 gigawatts, say 240 approximately is by renewable sources. That is, say for example, wind or solar. But still, coal has a share of 75% in energy utilization, despite share of only 50% in capacity, but 75% uses of coal only. Why? Because the wind and solar cannot be used 24 hours. They are intermittent powers. Coal currently accounts for 75% of energy generation in India. Capacity is there, but generation is not there. This is a very big issue with the renewables. Also, it will be required for the climate commitment of India at Glasgow Summit, which we earlier saw, only net zero emission by 2070. Also, generation of 500 gigawatt non-fossil energy by 2030, and also reducing the carbon intensity by 45%. So nuclear automatic becomes a choice. Not a choice, but obligation, mandatory. Nuclear as baseload. Baseload basically meaning reliable power. We already saw in the intermittent power. This is intermittent, but nuclear is reliable power. It can supply power for 24 hours a day. Also, there is a global interest which is growing in the nuclear power. The first one we observed at the declaration to triple nuclear energy at Dubai, COP28. Yes, this was launched. Also, World Bank and International Atomic Energy Agency has come to an agreement to support generation of nuclear energy in developing countries. So these are the various case studies, examples, data, very important from the mains point of view. So what India should do now? The target which was supposed to be achieved in 1980, that is 8 gigawatt. By 2025, we have only 8.1 gigawatt. We are here only. So what we need to do in the next 20 years to go from 8 to 100 gigawatt. Let's have a look at what India should do. First one, see, we saw how India started its nuclear program. So India indigenized the development of design of pressurized heavy water reactor 220 megawatt, which was employed in Rajasthan. It was a major achievement. Why? Because earlier the light water reactor which we used, it used to require low enriched uranium, which India obtained from US. So there was dependence on US for the development of low enriched uranium, that is light water reactor. When we shift to pressurized heavy water reactor, we could use natural uranium. So it was a big achievement. We have increased this capacity from 220 to 700 at Kakrapar in 2024. So what we should do is we need to standardize these 220 megawatt pressurized heavy water reactor for making small modulator reactor, which has been set as a target also under nuclear mission. See how things are interconnected now. 5 indigenously operational small modular reactor by 2033. So we need to operationalize these or also scale up the 700 megawatt pressurized heavy water reactors. Second, private sector involvement is very much required in this. Why? Presently, NPCIL, Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited, looks after the production, usage, everything related to the nuclear energy. But what is the thing? NPCIL is a government-owned company which builds, owns, and operates the indigenized pressurized heavy water reactor. It costs around $2 million per megawatt, right? Well, therm is only 1 million. So this 2 million megawatt, but the budget of NPCIL is only 1.2 billion. With this budget, we cannot fulfill the target of 100 gigawatt. So there is requirement of private sector to come in this. So private sector participation is very much important because the limited budget of NPCIL also expertise of the private sector. Then we need to amend various acts. First one, Atomic Energy Act of 1962. Because there are, NPCIL is looking after the ownership, the control, the management of the nuclear power plants. So there should be clarification regarding the role of private sector. If private sector is going to either own, manage, or control the nuclear power reactor, then amendments have to be made in this. Also, similar amendments in Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act 2010. This act basically restricts the operator and supplier of nuclear fuel and operator of the nuclear power plant, because it puts liabilities on the operator and supplier in case of nuclear damage. So amendments have to be made in these two laws. Again, if there's a disputes are going to be there in such big projects. So there should be resolution mechanism for the resolution of disputes. What is the issue? Let me explain it clearly here. See, nuclear tariffs, and there is other tariffs. Other tariffs, that is from other energies, say for example wind or say coal and nuclear. It is regulated by Central Electricity Authority or the Commission, but it is by NPCIL. So there's a conflict between these two. There should be uniformity in the implementation. There's a case already going on. The nuclear tariffs come under the Atomic Energy Act, while other energy sources fall under Electricity Act, which leads to conflict between the Central Electricity Commission and the Appellate Tribunal. One such case is already going on. One such case is already going on regarding this of Gujarat Urja Vikas Nigam Limited, conflicting with CERC and the Appellate Tribunal. So there should be consonance of the tariffs, how they are going to be regulated. Then the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, that is AERB, it is autonomous. Yes, it is autonomous. But it is subordinate to Department of Atomic Energy. So if private sector is going to be there, they should be an independent regulator so that trust can be developed. Next, yes, this is very interesting. You know, nuclear energy is not renewable energy in India. It should be classified as renewables. Why? Because there are certain tax incentives, certain projects which finance the renewable energy, but the nuclear energy is not renewable. So it should be classified as renewable so that tax incentives and green financing can be availed. FDI, it should be open to the foreign investment. If currently it is closed at least to 49%. So these are the various steps, which are the various things which India should do to promote the production, generation of nuclear energy in India. So this article has very important points which you should note down. In next one, yes, 90% of the SU deaths workers had no safety gear. What is the issue? Issue is of manual scavengers. What are manual scavengers? Manual scavengers are basically those persons who cleans the sewers manually without using the technical equipments. What does the audit report says? There have been 54 deaths in 2022 and 2023. Out of the 54, 47 cases had no equipment. In 27 cases, there was no worker consent. Only 5 workers had the gloves. So you see the situation, the cruelty which the scavengers have to face. So we will see what are the various constitutional and legal provisions for manual scavengers. Constitutionally, Article 14, right to equality, 17, untouchability, right to life, and also forced labor and trafficking. This is no less than trafficking and forced labor. You are forcing people to go down the sewer to clean it manually without any safety gear, without any helmet, without any gloves. This is cruelty. Then to operationalize these provisions, there is an act of the parliament, Prohibition of Employment as Manual Scavengers and the Rehabilitation Act. Under this act, manual scavenging is banned. It should be mechanized. Also, there are various provisions regarding the rehabilitation and training of the manual scavengers. Now, to operationalize this act also, a scheme is there, Namaste Scheme, National Action for Mechanized Sanitation Ecosystem. This scheme is different from manual scavengers, but the rehabilitation of manual scavengers, which is under this act, has been merged with the Namaste scheme, under which 100% mechanization of sewer work has to be done. Okay, got it? Namaste scheme, this act, these constitutional provisions. Various things under this is identification of septic tank workers. Who are the workers which are doing the septic tank, that is sewer tank workers. Then occupational training should be there, safety equipment should be there, and also they are enrolled under Ayushman Bharat scheme to avail the health insurance, health benefits. This is about Namaste scheme and manual scavenging. The last article for today is the defense updates. Two things we are going to see here: the MiG-21 fighter jets, which are going to retire, and second, arrival of Apache helicopters from the US. See, MiG-21 fighter jets, where everybody, the people in India, came to know when the Wing Commander Abhinandan used MiG-21 aircraft to shoot down Pakistan's F-16 fighter jet. Yes, with MiG-21, he shot down the F-16. MiG-21 basically was purchased first time in 1963. It is a single-engine supersonic jet fighter. It played key roles in various wars India fought, 1975, 1971, Kargil, even the Balakot strike, it was deployed. So, MiG-21 is going to be replaced by indigenously developed which fighter jet? Tejas Mk-1A fighter aircraft. Apache helicopter, the first batch recently arrived in India from the US. This Apache helicopter basically is to guard our western borders and high altitude areas. So question which can come in exam related to these is Apache we purchased from which country? Say US, Russia, Israel, France. So one statement would come and we should know it is from the US. So this is it from today's newspaper. If you have any query, any doubt, you can ask in the comment box. We will see you tomorrow. Till then, good luck, goodbye. Thank you.